Hello, everyone. This is MMA Interesting Prospects podcast. Today, our guest is Briven Sullivan, undefeated amateur prospect. Hello, Briven. How are you?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm good. And to be honest, I was a little bit sad about the news that unfortunately your fight is off because I thought that it will be actually a very good fight because it's like undefeated prospect against undefeated prospect. You both had like have like 6-0 records. So if you can tell me how do you feel about this kind of cancellation? I believe that just a few days before the bout.
Yeah, it sucks, man. It definitely sucks because it's a week before. I wish he would have gave a little bit more time. Said he got injured in hard sparring, so I imagine it was a little earlier in camp. Man, it honestly just fucks me. It's like this is a lot of my living, man, and I'm trying to push for the UFC, and he's just kind of stunting my career, and it seems very disrespectful to me, man. But I understand stuff happens in the fight game. We all fight injured at points. We all train injured at points, and it's just the way it panned out, man. So on to the next.
And are you interested to fight him like in the next fight still?
Yeah. So he's pushed to reschedule a month out, April 25th. At the start that we were kind of getting the agreement together, he was already pushing for April. So I imagine that was it just makes more sense for him. Honestly, bro, whoever they give me, I'm ready to fight. I'm about this life, so give me whoever, put whoever in front of me.
And in the end, I think that you are in like great situation because you are 6-0. You finished almost everybody, and I think that right now you are like featherweight fighter to watch in the amateur scene. So probably soon you will go pro.
Yeah, absolutely. This was supposed to be a professional fight, actually. Tapology had it listed as an amateur, but this was going to be. Technically, I am professional already because I had my debut with Karate Combat, won that. So technically, I'm a professional and I can't fight amateur anymore. So this was going to be my professional MMA debut. Um, yeah, man, it sucks. I'm trying to get this career going, so it kind of slows things down a little bit, especially with my record and the my ranking being number one in the Southeast and stuff. I've had three guys turn me down over the last 6 months, and I've had two guys pull out weeks before the fight. So it gets a little frustrating, man. I'm here to fight and I want to fight, and I hate inactivity. So
And actually, when I checked your record on Topology, you fought in MMA like about 2 years ago, and after that you had karate combat bout and also Muay Thai. Would you be interested in going in either like of the sports, especially the karate combat again?
yeah, absolutely. They offered me another fight. Funny enough, I'm eventually moving back down to a bantamweight, 135. Right now, I've been fighting at featherweight. I've been putting on a little bit of muscle, so I'm trying to slim my body composition down. Karate Combat offered me a bantamweight bout against one of the Goat Shed guys on 2 weeks' notice in Orlando. That last Orlando card, I just couldn't make 135 in 2 weeks. Tried to get it in a catch weight, and that just didn't turn out, man. But the money, Karate Combat pays better, not better than UFC at the level that I'm at, but definitely better than regional MMA, man. And if I can get paid, I can get paid. I'm actually talking to a guy right now, visiting a boxing gym, maybe getting some professional boxing fights because MMA moves so slow. Maybe I can jump into the boxing realm, get a couple boxing fights, maybe go back to professional kickboxing, try to make some money while MMA is moving slow and just help my skill set.
You are like definitely ready for whichever sport.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, if you saw my Karate Combat fight, the dude they put me up against 2.5 weeks notice, he's a 15-time world champion, is the most decorated karate athlete of this generation, protege of Raymond Daniels, legendary kickboxer. He wasn't no bum. I took that on 2.5 weeks notice and broke his will, man. So I really do believe I'm prepared for any level at the moment. It's just a matter of getting there and the journey that, you know, whoever you get matched up against and the journey that it takes to get to the UFC. And whatever comes, I'm ready, man.
But actually, when I when I watched your fights, so of course, like you are a very good striker, but you have a really good grappling too. So probably MMA is like a good sport in which you can use all of your grappling.
Exactly, dude. I never want to stray away from MMA. UFC is the goal. the grappling, the elbows, the knees, all that. I freaking love it, man. Karate Combat's got a cool rule set because I come from a striking background, and they do the takedowns and the ground and pound, not the submissions, of course, to keep it more active and more higher paced. I loved that rule set. But now I'm training at Nashville MMA. I got two great coaches in Ronnie Lawrence, who fought for the UFC, and Dustin Ortiz, who actually beat Alexander Pantoja and also fought for the UFC. So I've got some great coaches that are really high-level wrestlers. So I've been really just sharpening up my wrestling skills. I feel pretty confident in my jiu-jitsu skills, and I come from a striking background. And if anyone watched my Karate Combat fight, you know that I can stand and bang on the feet. So sharpen up that wrestling, man. So when I run into these Dagestanis, you know, I can handle my own.
Actually, I remember like Dustin Ortiz was one of the best flyweights
Yeah,
when he was in the UFC. So with his wrestling, he was like a tough opponent to almost everybody.
exactly, man. And I get the luck to be able to be coached by him and even train with him. I sparred Ronnie Lawrence. Dude, Ronnie Lawrence is a monster, too. Sparred Ronnie Lawrence last Saturday, man. And the guys have just they put a lot of effort. And I'm pretty new around the block in terms of the area and the gym that I'm training at with them now. And I think I resonate really well with them in terms of style. And I'm in there to work hard and just get better every single day. And I think those kind of guys can respect it because they know what it takes. So I feel like I've grown a lot, and having those guys in my corner, I mean, literally, Justin fought freaking Brandon Moreno. He's beat Alexander Pantoja. Like, he's fought some of the best in the game, beat Joseph Benavidez. Like, he's fought at the highest level, man. And you don't get guys like that typically in the room. You know, you just get lucky sometimes. So.
And before you mentioned that you have a like striking background, and did you start with more of the like traditional sport like karate, or more of the like Muay Thai or kickboxing?
Yeah, so I've got 15 total kickboxing fights and a boxing match. I started in traditional Muay Thai and kind of more of a kickboxing style. I like the TJ Dillashaw, the switching stances, the moving. So I started kind of more traditional Muay Thai and transitioned into more of like a flowy footwork kind of style thing. But yeah, started kickboxing in my first 3 years. I racked up a pretty good record in 13-1. I had that last kickboxing match, and then I had a boxing match a few years back. So yeah, kind of started traditional Muay Thai, and I love it, man. It's my bread and butter. I love the feet, but MMA is a different game. You can be good on the feet, be good with your kickboxing, but if you can't stop a takedown, your striking doesn't mean anything. So it's a different game, different pace too.
And also like TJ Dillashaw and of course like Dominic Cruz, they what they did in like history of MMA is kind of crazy that they showed that this kind of movement can win like championship fights.
Exactly, man. It's the footwork. It's beautiful. When coming up, studying guys like Conor McGregor, of course, I'm a southpaw traditionally, now switch stances, but Conor McGregor, the Israel Adesanya's, the Corey Sandhagens, the TJ Dillashaws, the Dominic Cruz, those are the pioneers of it, the Mighty Mouses. I got blessed enough for my Karate Combat fight when that got announced. I have a good sponsor who sent me out to Colorado, and I was trained by Dwayne Ludwig for that fight and got to spend 3 weeks living 2.5, 3 weeks living out there with in Colorado with Dwayne. We went to Vegas and got to train at Extreme Couture with guys like Sean Strickland and Francis Ngannou. Got to watch them in the room, got to spar with some high level pros, man. And it was a blessing because Dwayne Ludwig, his style really resonates with mine. The switching of the stances and the flowing and the bang Muay Thai stuff. And it's funny how everything kind of goes full circle.
And do you have right now the plan for your career for next few years? Because also you mentioned that the UFC is like main goal for you. So do you know when would you like to be there?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's think. So I like to stay active, man. I'd like to fight every 2 months. Like, that's my preference. I want to fight as much as possible. The problem is MMA gets political. People see my record. They see that I've had a debut in Karate Combat and won. So again, I've had multiple guys turn me down. So MMA kind of moves slower. I would like to say I'll be fighting for on the Contender Series, or heck, I'd even do the Ultimate Fighter in about a year and a half. But if MMA moves slower, it could be pushing closer to 2 years. And in between fights, I've been doing a lot of jiu-jitsu matches and grappling matches. Again, I'd like to maybe venture into the pro boxing world, just get a couple pro boxing fights. You can never have too much experience and have that kind of translate to my MMA game. But preferably, if everything was perfect, cut and dry, in the next 2 years, I'd be fighting in the UFC, man.
So actually, it is a very good time to take this like kickboxing bouts or boxing bouts because when you are in the UFC, you can't really do it. You can like grapple, but right now it's like a perfect time. Of course, like MMA fights are great, but if you have like this kind of thing or on your bucket list, like to be a 5-0 boxer or something like this, is
Yeah.
like a very good time.
Exactly. You understand it. It's like not only can it help your game. I mean, I'm not a boxer. I'm not going to try to be a boxer. I'm gonna be an MMA fighter. But fighting's fighting, and being able to be good everywhere, I think, is what makes the greatest in the world. John Jones, Demetrius Johnson, GSP. These guys are all around just great, excellent fighters. And like you said, like you can never have too much experience. I go into the UFC with a 5-0 boxing record. Let's say on the worst side, I go into the UFC with a 0-5 boxing record. That's still 5 extra fights. That's 5 extra times that I've dealt with the nerves, that I've sharpened up my boxing skills, that I've spent time getting better. And I feel like this is the only sport in the world you don't have an off season. We're not football, we're not baseball. You don't get that summer break, the 3 or 4 months to eat like shit and maybe lift a little bit. Nah, dude, it's like a year round thing. And again, I'm trying to fight as much as possible. And like you said, MMA, it can move slow. It just, sometimes guys want to turn you down. Sometimes guys want to play it super political, and they ain't really about this life. So it just can stunt my growth in my career. Might as well get some more experience or make some money on the side, you know?
And especially that especially on the regional scene, that the like cancellations of the fights are probably like super not only frustrating, but I believe also quite often that we are like preparing for the opponent, and in the end the fight is off and there is no other opponent, and you just maybe not waste your time because of course you are better, but there should be something after the training camp, so the fight.
Yeah, you're spending six. I spend 6, 8, sometimes 10 weeks in my camps. 6 is really more dialed in, but I prefer 8 to 10 weeks of my camp. That's 2 months of my life that I'm spending all day, every day, prepping for a fight. To not get that reward of actually performing and being able to show how I've got better, it sucks, man. And then the mindset of the switch up, like if you were looking at my Tapology, I was originally supposed to have my last kickboxing fight of my amateur career. It was originally supposed to be an MMA fight, and the dude I was fighting, I was 5-6-0 at the time, and he was 5-1, and he was supposed to be a really heavy wrestler, one of the more up and coming prospects too. Like it was going to be the perfect fight to lead me into my pro career. Well, he pulls out the week of. Luckily, I have a guy step in and want to do a kickboxing match. But now I've spent my whole camp prepping for a wrestler and in a wrestling, like expecting a guy to come and shoot and take me down. And now I've got to step in from the 5 minute rounds, or sorry, 5 3-minute rounds to 3 2-minute rounds. So that's a switch up in time, a switch up in style, a switch up in pacing. Like it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating because I put my life and my heart and soul into this, and when I don't get to perform, or I don't get to do what I know I can do, it just it's like it's like eating freaking a cupcake with no icing on the top. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty good, but you don't get that little cherry on top. And I want the cherry on top. So
And in the UFC, it's probably a little bit better situation because in the end, there are a lot of fighters who want to step in when they have like 2 or 3 weeks. So it's like in the end, probably it's a big chance that you will get this fight. But on the regional scene, it's especially like you said with your record, it's probably tough to find an opponent for the 6-0 guy.
yeah, man. And it doesn't make sense to me. If you want to be a fighter and you're a fighter and you're trying to get to the UFC too, let's clash it out. I'm a businessman too. I understand that you're running your own business and there's a smart route. Like me taking a debut fight against a guy who's 4-0 as a professional probably doesn't make too much sense, right? But at the same time, I'm trying to get there. So I'm going to be fighting that 4-0 guy eventually anyways. So like we got to get to the top, man, and there's really only one way to the top, and it's just beat everyone they put in front of you, and then you get to the Shark Tank. Cuz when you get in the UFC, I mean, even these guys with the bad records or whatever, dude, these guys are still good. These guys are still killers. They got to the UFC for a reason. You're in a Shark Tank, and you better hope you're the freaking great white, and you're going with all these baby sharks because I guarantee most of these guys are about this life the same way that you think you are and that you are probably. So
You can pick an opponent for your like dream fight, either from the bantamweight or featherweight division. Which fighter would you like to face?
dude, Peter Yan when he was on his come up. That was like that was my thought. I was like, just fighting a guy like Peter Yan just seems so perfect. I mean, I'm a long rangy guy. I know to move kind of more Corey Sandhagen esque, but a guy who's intelligent like him, who knows how to mix it up, who knows how to grapple, but also his style, his boxing style. Like, I think that would just be such a fun fight on his come up. Of course, like, I want to be champ. Like, that's the goal. So, also a guy like Marab, but a dream fight, someone that I could ever fight. Man, I really think Peter Yan would be the most fun fight, or Corey Sandhagen, one of those two guys. That would be just a great learning experience and two guys who I know are about this life. So I can go in there and put it on the line and do what I do best.
Actually, Jan is quite an interesting example because at one point when he was a champion, he was like he had a great result. Then he like lost few fights because the Aljamain Sterling, Merab, but he right now he's like on the I believe the 2 fights winning streak, but with the very very good fighters, Figueredo and Song Hyodang, I believe. So it's like he can be a champion again, or at least challenge for the title.
That's the thing about these little guys, bro. When you're big, you get that one punch knockout. Maybe your athleticism will take you to the top, but like going with the smaller guys, we're good everywhere. We're fast. We're all going to be athletic. We're all going to be pretty strong. We're all going to be really technical. Like, it's just a Shark Tank, and it's fun to watch. It's my favorite division. The bantamweight's my favorite division. Another fun one, of course, featherweight prime Jose Aldo, man. I was watching highlights of him with my girlfriend when he was like fighting Uriah Faber, and he was crushing Faber's leg. And Faber posted the video the next day of a big old like welt, bruise, like hematoma. He had to go get put in the doctor because they weren't worried about it clotting up. Like, man, that guy would be a fun one too. It's just there's a lot of fun matchups. I look at the bantamweight list, and I really think anyone from 1 to 15, or even some of the entry guys, they would just be so fun to fight. It would be incredible, man.
Yes, bantamweight division is so deep. Even like on the regional scene, it's like
Yeah,
the level of the fighters is kind of crazy. So
yeah,
in the UFC, it's actually like the top of the top. And if you are a ranked fighter, is also the almost impossible.
yeah, exactly. It's amazing, man. It's amazing. I think featherweight is starting to get. I mean, they're a deep division. Lightweight, of course, you start reaching more bulky guys, but welterweight, you just start seeing like a lot of those guys can be kind of average looking in terms of skill set. Still good. They're incredible. I mean, they've reached the UFC, so they're not scrubs. But the bantamweight guys, even watching Cejudo versus Song Yadong, kind of a weird fight. But you got freaking Cejudo, who's an Olympic medalist for wrestling, and he's incredible on the feet. He's not a scrub on striking. And then you got Song Yadong, who's training with Uriah Faber and all these monsters, and he's he got into the UFC when he was 19. By the time he was 19, he already had like 14 professional fights. Like, this kid's a monster and has been doing it his whole life. You watch his video grappling with B Team, Craig Jones and all those guys. He's grappling with Damian Anderson, who's an incredible grappler. And dude, watching that, I didn't know how good Song Yadong was on the ground because he typically is more of a boxing esque. Bro, you watch that and you're like, oh shit, like he's a damn good grappler too. You know, it's just there's no holes. You just got to find them, and they're gonna be this slim.
Yes, but like for the casual fans, it's like
Mm-hmm.
the heavier fighters, the better, because it's like looked the more intimidating. But of course,
Yeah,
the best level of talents is like the bantamweight, flyweight, or featherweight. The like smaller fighters are definitely more skilled, but in the end, they probably don't get as much of the respect they should get.
yeah, I absolutely. That's that. Unfortunately, that's what happened to my new coach Dustin Ortiz, man. Um, um, Demetrius Johnson was when his trade was going on to one when he got traded for Ben Askren. Uh, they cut a lot of the flyweights. Dustin was 30. He was 30 years old, and I want to say his record in the UFC was. I know it was like I think it was 3 wins to 1 loss, like in terms of how much he was winning and losing in the ratio. But he was like on a win streak and destroying guys, and he was reaching his prime at 30, and they cut him because those flyweights just like you said they don't get the respect. But I understand it. You got to be sellable, and a lot of the flyweights and bantamweights are like either cringy or just not very. They're just not very interesting. You know, if you really look into it. But then you look at the featherweights and the lightweights, like that's only a 10, 20 pound difference. And those guys are interesting and they're fun to watch, you know, and they look the part too. So it's this weird balance. You want people to want to watch you to fight. You got to make your fight a big deal, not treat it treat it like it's another fight, I guess, in your head. But for these fans, it's their first time watching you, some of them. So you better go out there and make it memorable. I want them to leave the event and go, man, that ginger kid, he was fun to watch, man. I got to see him. I got to follow him on Instagram. Like that's the kind of mindset that I try to go into it with. So I think when I get to the UFC, I'll definitely put the bantamweight even more on notice. It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be so fun.
And you definitely have this kind of style that you are going for the finish. And I don't think that I watched any of your fights that were boring. So
I
it's
appreciate it.
probably not a problem for you.
Nah, I appreciate it, man. I want to go in there and break the dude's will. If he's tough, man, I wanna see how tough he is. You know, I want to see how much he really wants to be in there. And you know, it sounds intense, but I don't want to see how much you want to win. I want to see how much you want to live. It's like when you got someone in front of you who you know he wants to take you off the face of the earth and wants to hit you with everything that he has, man. It's like I want to see what this person's really about. And I think if I bring the best out of my opponents, then it'll bring the better out of me. And it creates for an incredible fight. You know, two guys who really want to be in there and really know there's high stakes to it compared to two guys that are like, whatever. It's just another fight. It's like it creates this stagnance in the fight. And I want to create a car crash. Two guys who are like skilled and they want to go in there and freaking and show it, you know, while having a little swagger on top of it. So, yeah, that's kind of my style. That's how I like to go about it.
Okay, Bruin. So many thanks for the conversation. I
Okay.
hope that you will be back in the cage really soon. Of course, taking also some boxing or kickboxing bouts and karate combat. But in the end, that you will finally be that you will be finally back in the MMA cage.
Hey, thank you so much, man. This was a great opportunity. You're a great interviewer. I really appreciate it, man. I appreciate your time.